It began quietly, almost too quietly for a moment that would shake the entire country. Sunday, November 23rd, inside the cold, gray walls of FCY Fort Dix, a place where every step is monitored, every hallway recorded, every movement restricted. And yet, from inside this fortress, something slipped out. Something no one expected. Something no one was prepared for. The first leaked video. TMZ dropped it without warning. A grainy, silent clip. No sound, no context, no explanation, but powerful enough to explode across the internet within minutes. And there he was, Sean Diddy Combs, in a gray prison sweatsuit and knit cap, standing inside the media library, a location he was never supposed to enter alone. He wasn't panicked. He wasn't escorted. He wasn't controlled. He was calm, adjusting his jacket, moving between shelves like he belonged there. The silence of the footage made every tiny movement even louder. His hands pulling on a sleeve, his head turning slightly, his posture relaxed as if this was a normal part of his day. But it wasn't normal, not for a high-profile inmate, not for someone already under strict restrictions, not for someone with a record of violations. And the internet saw it instantly. Comments exploded. Why is Diddy alone? Where are the guards? How did he walk into the library unsupervised? Within an hour, the video had been viewed millions of times. Analysts started breaking it down frame by frame. Former inmates appeared in live interviews explaining how impossible it is to reach that area without direct authorization. This wasn't a leak, it was a spark. And what came next was a wildfire. But before we dive deeper into how this quiet 30-second clip turned into a national scandal, I need you to do one thing, because this story is about to get darker, more intense, and more unbelievable with every passing second. Before we go further, make sure to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and hit the bell icon. That's how you'll never miss any breaking updates like this. Now let's get back to the story. Because by the time the world reached the end of the first clip, people began asking if Diddy could reach the media library alone, if he could move so comfortably, then what else was happening inside Fort Dix that no one knew about? And that one question set the stage for the chaos that would follow. Because the first leak was only the beginning. The second clip was coming, and it would be even more damaging, even more suspicious, even more explosive. The world had no idea what was about to hit them. The next day, Monday, November 24th, felt different before anything even happened. Fort Dix had already been shaken by the first leaked video. Officers whispered in break rooms. Supervisors held closed-door meetings. Every phone inside the prison buzzed with the same question. How did this footage get out? But before they could even begin to contain the damage, something even worse hit the internet. A second clip. And this one was far more dangerous. TMZ posted it early in the morning, calling it Part 2 of the Diddy footage. The moment it dropped, the entire online world froze. Because this wasn't Diddy quietly adjusting a jacket. This wasn't a simple moment near a bookshelf. This was something entirely different. The video showed Diddy walking down the chapel, library corridor, the same gray sweatsuit, the same knit cap, but a completely different energy. He wasn't calm this time. He looked happy. He was smiling, even laughing under his breath, like he was enjoying the moment. And then he did something that sent shock waves everywhere. He stepped into a dark corner, leaned in, and met someone just out of frame. No audio, no context, just a silent, secret exchange. He tilted his head. He nodded slightly. He leaned closer like he was whispering. And the internet lost its mind. Who was he talking to? Why is the meeting hidden from the camera? Why is he not in handcuffs? Why is he walking freely? Almost instantly, thousands of users started zooming in on the footage, stabilizing it, brightening shadows, trying to catch even a silhouette of the person off camera. Some said it looked like a guard. Some said an inmate. Some insisted it was a visitor. Others argued it was evidence of a deeper conspiracy. And for the first time, people questioned whether Diddy had access inside the prison that regular inmates did not. Whether he still held influence, still held connections, still held power, even behind bars. Within hours, Diddy Prison Video Part 2 was trending worldwide. Major news channels picked it up. Influencers reacted to it live. Attorneys on TV called it deeply suspicious. Former federal agents claimed it looked like special treatment. Even worse, people started comparing this second clip with the first one. 2 days, 2 leaks, 2 different restricted locations. Now the question wasn't why is he in the library? It became, how is Diddy getting this access and who is helping him? That's when the pressure exploded. Articles started rolling out. Security breakdown at Fort Dix? How did Diddy meet someone secretly? Federal inmates don't get this freedom. And by the time evening came, the story had already become bigger than the prison itself. The public wasn't asking anymore. They were demanding answers, demanding accountability, demanding consequences. And the worst part, this was only video number 2. 2 days, 2 leaks, 2 scandals, and both were about to land directly on the judge's desk. The system couldn't ignore it. The court couldn't escape it. The prison couldn't hide from it. The second video didn't just expose a suspicious moment. It exposed a pattern that would lead to something far more severe, something irreversible, something life-changing for Diddy, because this wasn't just a clip. This was evidence, and the federal court was now watching. For the next 72 hours, the internet felt like it had only one topic, one scandal, one mystery swallowing everything else. Those 2 silent videos of Sean Diddy Combs inside Fort Dix. What began as a single leaked clip turned into a global cyclone of outrage, analysis, and conspiracy theories that no one, not the prison, not the court, not even Diddy himself, could escape from. Every platform became an investigation room. Every viewer became a detective. Every headline became a hammer hitting the same point harder and harder. TikTok lit up with slowed-down versions of the footage. Creators circling Diddy's movements with red markers, repeating the same questions. Why is he smiling? Why isn't he handcuffed? Who is in that corner with him? YouTube commentators posted hour-long breakdowns frame by frame, zooming into shadows, adjusting brightness, replaying every second as if each pixel held the truth. Even Instagram pages that usually posted celebrity gossip turned into makeshift crime analysts. The videos crossed millions of views faster than anyone expected. Then came the experts. Former federal inmates went live on podcasts explaining how the media library is a restricted access area. Former correctional officers gave interviews saying the footage does not represent standard escort protocol. Legal analysts on TV openly questioned how a high-profile inmate with recent disciplinary violations ended up walking alone inside such controlled zones. And every new opinion only made the situation worse. News outlets seized the moment. Page 6 wrote, "Diddy seen wandering Fort Dix freely? How?" The Economic Times reported, "First public videos from inside Fort Dix raise serious concerns." Daily Mail ran the headline, "What is Diddy doing in the prison chapel corridor?" Every headline was fuel. Every article was gasoline. Every opinion was a spark. By the third day, the story transformed from a viral curiosity to a national crisis. People weren't just shocked. They were angry, furious, demanding answers, demanding accountability, demanding action. And with the public's volume rising, the pressure began crushing the system itself. Inside Fort Dix, panic quietly took over. Supervisors called emergency briefings. Security logs were pulled. Camera records were reviewed. Every officer who had access to the library or chapel corridor that week was questioned. Internal Affairs started running down the list of staff members with possible access to phone devices. Because if the footage came from inside, then someone recorded it, someone leaked it, someone betrayed the system. But worse than the leak was the movement. Diddy walking freely, Diddy smiling, Diddy meeting someone secretly, Diddy changing jackets casually. It all painted a picture that terrified the Bureau of Prisons, a picture of lost control. And while the prisons scrambled to piece together what happened, the federal court began feeling its own pressure. Commentators openly questioned Judge Arun Subramanian's original sentencing. Internet threads blamed the court for being too lenient. Some even mocked the punishment, suggesting Diddy still held invisible influence behind bars. Every hour, the judge's name trended again. Every hour, the criticism grew louder. Every hour, the question intensified. What is the court going to do now? By the evening of November 27th, the situation was no longer just a prison problem. It had become a federal embarrassment, a judicial crisis, a public relations nightmare spiraling at a speed no one expected. The system had to respond. Not tomorrow, not next week, not when things calmed down. Immediately. And that urgency set the stage for what came next. Something far more dramatic, far more intense, and far more destructive for Diddy. Because the videos weren't just viral anymore. They had triggered something bigger, a federal-level storm headed straight for the courtroom. Inside Fort Dix, the atmosphere had shifted from confusion to full-blown crisis. The leaked videos weren't just embarrassing. They were exposing holes in the prison system that should never, ever exist. And now every officer, every supervisor, every administrator felt the weight of a nation watching them fail in real time. The warden's face said everything. He wasn't angry. He was terrified. Terrified of what these videos meant. Terrified of what Washington would say. Terrified of what the judge would demand. Within hours of the second leak, the Bureau of Prisons issued a short, tight, panicked statement. This footage was not authorized. We did not release it. This is an internal security breach. Those few sentences detonated the situation like a bomb. Because if they didn't release it, then someone inside did. Someone with access. Someone who was close enough to film Sean Diddy Combs without being noticed. Someone comfortable enough to record him twice. And that possibility made everything 10 times darker. Inside the prison, officers were called in one by one. No smiles, no greetings, just questions, sharp, direct, suspicious. Were you on duty that hour? Did you escort inmate Combs? Who had keys to the media library that day? Did you see anyone using a phone? Why is Combs moving without restraints? Phones were checked. Logs were scanned. Hallway cameras were replayed at half speed. Staff members were told not to speak to media under any circumstances. The prison wasn't running. It was sweating. Meanwhile, the public outrage outside was becoming louder than anything happening within the prison walls. Television hosts grilled corrections, experts live on air. How did Diddy reach the media library? Why was he smiling and meeting someone secretly? Is Fort Dix hiding something? Was a guard involved in this leak? Pressure wasn't just coming from viewers. It was coming from elected officials, federal agencies, advocacy groups, and every major news organization in America. Everyone demanded answers. The prison had none. And the person caught in the center of that pressure was Judge Arun Subramanian. His chambers were flooded with requests for comment. Every headline used his name. Every news panel questioned his authority. Every social media thread accused him of being too lenient, too forgiving, too blind to what Diddy was doing inside. For the first time since sentencing, the judge realized the public didn't just want clarity. They wanted action. They wanted a response. They wanted accountability. And worst of all, they wanted someone held responsible. The fear wasn't that Diddy was moving freely. The fear was that the system allowed him to. Every second of leaked footage made the 50-month sentence look weaker, softer, almost meaningless. And in a high-profile federal case, that kind of damage was catastrophic. By late evening on November 27th, after reviewing the footage personally, the judge made a decision that would change everything. Not because he wanted to, but because the situation left him with no choice. The court had to act. The justice system had to protect itself. The public demanded consequences. The prison needed accountability. The leak had shattered trust, and the judge could no longer ignore what millions of people had watched with their own eyes. A federal order was issued quickly, quietly, but with unmistakable force. Sean Combs is to appear in SDNY court on Friday, November 28th. Emergency session. Case reopening. Inside the prison, officers exchanged nervous looks. Outside the prison, reporters sharpened their microphones. Across the nation, viewers waited for the next twist. Because everyone understood one thing clearly. This wasn't about alcohol anymore. This wasn't about good behavior or bad behavior. This wasn't about discipline. This was about the system's credibility collapsing in front of the world. And the only person who would pay for it was the man in gray sweats, walking toward a courtroom where his entire future was about to be rewritten. On the morning of Friday, November 28th, the atmosphere around SDNY Court in Manhattan didn't feel like a routine hearing. It felt like history was about to be written. The streets were lined with reporters before sunrise. Camera crews stood shoulder to shoulder. News vans circled the block. Every major network had gone live hours early, waiting for a single moment: Diddy's arrival. Inside Fort Dix, the prison transport team prepared quietly. No one spoke. No one joked. No one treated this like normal procedure. Because this wasn't a simple escort. This wasn't a scheduled appearance. This was an emergency summons triggered by scandal, controversy, and nationwide pressure. When officers reached Diddy's cell just after dawn, he already knew something was different. His face was pale. His eyes were bloodshot. His energy wasn't angry or defiant. It was hollow. The clips had been circulating for days. The prison's panic had reached every inmate. Gossip spreads fast behind bars, and Diddy knew the hearing wasn't about explanations. It was about consequences. The cuffs clicked shut around his wrists. The chain wrapped around his waist. The restraints locked onto his ankles. This time, officers tightened everything a little more than usual. Not out of hostility, but because procedure demanded absolute strictness after the leaks. As they guided him through the hallway, inmates pressed their faces against the windows of their cells, watching in silence. Some shook their heads, others stared in disbelief. A few whispered things like, "It's over," or "He's done," but none said it loudly. You could feel the tension, heavy, suffocating, as Diddy stepped outside into the freezing November air. The transport convoy was already waiting. One armored van in front, one in the middle, one in the back. Federal marshals surrounding every angle. The engine roared to life, and the convoy sped toward Manhattan. Inside the van, Diddy stared down at his shackles, barely blinking. The scenes from the leaked videos replayed in his mind like a curse. His jacket change in the library, his quiet laugh in the hallway, the secret meeting in the corner. None of it seemed big at the time, but in the outside world, those silent moments had turned into weapons pointed straight at him. By the time they reached SDNY Court, the lockstep procedure moved with military precision. Marshals opened doors. Officers formed a protective wall. Camera flashes exploded like lightning. Reporters screamed questions that Diddy couldn't answer even if he wanted to. What were you doing in the library? Who were you meeting off camera? Did guards help you? Do you think this sentence increases fair? Is this your downfall? But Diddy kept his head down. He didn't try to look strong. He didn't grin for cameras. He didn't act like the superstar who once controlled the music industry. He looked like a man walking into a storm without an umbrella, without armor, without hope. Inside the courtroom, the tension was even heavier. Federal prosecutors already stood ready, folders open, statements prepared. Prison officials sat stiffly behind them, knowing they were about to be questioned too. Journalists filled every seat along the back wall. The judge's bench was stacked with printed frames from both leaked videos. The door opened and Diddy entered. His chains rattled softly. His steps were slow. His shoulders were completely collapsed. Judge Arun Subramanian didn't look away. He watched Diddy approach the defense table with an expression that wasn't angry, but deeply, undeniably disappointed. And that was far worse. Because anger can fade. Disappointment changes verdicts. The judge cleared his throat. The room fell completely silent. Everyone leaned forward. "Mr. Combs," the judge said, "the videos we are here to address have raised serious concerns regarding your conduct inside Fort Dix." Diddy didn't lift his head. He didn't blink. He didn't move. This wasn't the moment for confidence. This was the moment before collapse. The judge looked at the printed video frames again, then back at Diddy, then at the prosecutors. And in that quiet pause, the courtroom felt the shift. Something irreversible was coming. Something final. Something life-altering. Because this wasn't just a hearing anymore. This was Judgment Day. And Diddy's entire future now rested in the next few minutes. Moments that would change the meaning of sentence forever. The judge leaned back in his chair, exhaled slowly, and when he finally spoke, the entire courtroom seemed to shrink around his voice. It wasn't loud, it wasn't dramatic, but it carried a weight so heavy that even the air felt like it stopped moving. Mr. Combs, he began, his tone controlled, the court has reviewed both videos that have now circulated publicly. We have examined the footage frame by frame. We have heard testimony from Fort Dix officials, and we have considered the overwhelming public response and the severe questions raised about your supervision inside the facility. Diddy's fingers curled into trembling fists. His lips parted slightly as if he wanted to speak, but nothing came out. He looked like a man standing at the edge of a cliff, waiting for the final push. Judge Subramanian lifted the printed video stills. Diddy changing jackets in the media library. Diddy laughing in the hallway. Diddy leaning into a shadowy corner for a secret exchange. These videos, the judge continued, show you moving freely in restricted areas, show you engaged in unauthorized contact, show you without escort, without restraints, and without the security measures required for a high-profile inmate. Each sentence cut deeper. Each word pulled the floor further from beneath Diddy's feet. But more concerning, the judge said, is the public perception created by these leaks. Millions have watched you walk through Fort Dix as though you possess special privilege. Millions believe the system has failed. Millions are questioning the integrity of this court's original sentencing. The prosecutor nodded firmly. Diddy's attorney looked down in defeat. Camera shutters clicked silently from the back of the room. The judge lowered the stills, folded his hands, and delivered the next blow. And when a sentence is questioned, when the justice system is doubted, when public trust collapses, the responsibility falls on this court to correct it. Diddy's breathing grew uneven. His legs shook. Tears pooled, threatening to fall. The original 50-month sentence imposed on you, the judge continued, was based on the assumption that you would adhere strictly to the rules of your confinement. That assumption is no longer valid. The room froze. Your movements, he said, undermine that sentence. Your behavior undermines that sentence. And the unauthorized leak of your actions undermines that sentence. A marshal stepped closer to Diddy, sensing what was coming. And therefore, the judge said, voice lowering into something cold, unshakable, final. This court finds it necessary to increase your sentence from 50 months to life imprisonment, effective immediately. The words hit Diddy like a physical impact. His knees gave out. His body folded forward. A marshal caught him before he hit the ground. The courtroom filled with gasps, quick breaths, stifled cries. Reporters leaned so far forward their chairs screeched across the floor. Even the prosecutors, prepared for this moment, looked stunned by the finality of it. But the judge wasn't done. You have lost the right to appeal, he continued. The repeated breaches captured on video and the immense public pressure leave this court no alternative. The sentence must reflect the seriousness of the violations and the integrity of the justice system. Diddy shook, tears falling freely now, dripping onto the table, onto his chains, onto the cold courtroom floor. The judge's voice was steady, unwavering. This is the ruling of the court. For a moment, no one moved. No one spoke. No one breathed. It felt like time broke in half. Then the marshal stepped in, lifting Diddy gently but firmly, holding his weakened body upright. His heartbroken, shattered expression said everything. He wasn't just sentenced. He was erased. Everything he had, everything he hoped for, everything he thought he still had time to fix, disappeared in a single ruling. The doors opened. The chains rattled. The world outside waited. But the man walking out wasn't the man who walked in. He was now inmate Sean Combs, a man with a new identity, a new fate, a new reality that would shadow him for the rest of his life. And all of it, every moment, every decision, every consequence, came from a few silent seconds of viral footage,